Hello friends, welcome back to Nightfall's Tales. There was a small town called Ravenhill. This town was built deep inside the forest. Its quiet nights and deserted streets had always created a mysterious sense of fear. The locals lived their busy lives during the day, but as soon as the sun went down, everyone quickly locked themselves inside their homes. The most famous story of this town was about a girl named Emily. Emily was only 16 years old, playful, cheerful, mischievous, but one night, something happened that left the town terrified forever. It was the night of July 15th. The moon was shining brightly in the sky, but the dark shadows of the forest spread fear everywhere. Emily was returning home after celebrating with her friends. The time was around 11 o'clock. Her friends offered to walk her home, but Emily insisted, "I'll go by myself. My house is just 2 streets away." Her friends laughed and said, "All right, but be careful. After midnight, these streets are not safe." Emily ignored their warning and kept walking. But that night was no ordinary night. When she reached close to her home, she began to hear faint whispers coming from the corner of an old street. The voice was of a woman, as if someone was crying and begging for help. Emily stopped and listened carefully. The voice was clear. "Help! Is anyone there? Please help me." Emily's legs trembled, but her curiosity wouldn't let her stop. Slowly, she walked toward the corner. There stood an old lamppost, half broken, spreading a dim, flickering light. In that light, she saw a shadow, a tall woman's shadow, standing against the wall, shivering. Emily, with fear in her voice, asked, "Are you okay? Do you need help?" The shadow slowly turned, and the moment the light fell on her face, Emily screamed. The woman's face had no eyes, only 2 dark, empties. Emily started running, but as soon as she moved, she heard heavy footsteps following her. The sound grew closer and closer, and then suddenly, it stopped. But there was nothing. The street was completely empty. Terrified, she ran to her house's front door. Just as she reached out to open it, a cold, icy, lifeless hand grabbed hers tightly. Emily screamed at the top of her lungs. After that, no one knows what happened to her. The next morning, people found Emily's house door wide open. On the ground lay a ribbon drenched in blood. Since that night, the people of Ravenhill say that whenever the street falls silent at midnight, one can hear a girl's faint laughter mixed with distant screams. The next morning, the entire town was in shock. The news of Emily's disappearance spread like wildfire. Her parents wandered every street like mad people, searching for her. The police were called, but all they found as evidence was a blood-stained ribbon and some strange marks on the door, as if sharp nails had been dragged across the wood. The townsfolk whispered quietly among themselves, "This is no ordinary disappearance. It's the work of that shadow woman people have claimed to see for years." The police searched day and night for Emily, but no trace of her was found. Days passed, and fear grew heavier. At night, people claimed they could hear Emily's voice, sometimes laughing, sometimes screaming. Emily's best friend, Sarah, refused to believe that Emily was gone forever. One night, she sat with her diary and wrote, "If Emily is alive, then I will find her, even if I have to go into the deepest part of this forest." That very night, Sarah decided to go alone to the street where Emily was last seen. The time was midnight. The whole town slept, but Sarah's heart was burning with determination. She tiptoed to the old lamppost. The air was still, as if time had stopped. Suddenly, the faint light of the lamp grew brighter, and in her ears, she heard a familiar laugh. It was Emily's laugh. Tears rolled down Sarah's face. She cried out, "Emily, is that you?" At that moment, cold gust of wind blew, and a ribbon floated through the air, landing at Sarah's feet. The same ribbon the police had found Boot. This ribbon was freshly soaked in blood. Sarah's heart pounded violently. She bent down to pick it up, when suddenly, from behind, someone called her name. Sarah. The voice was deep and hollow, as if many voices spoke together at once. Sarah's whole body trembled. She gathered courage and turned around. There stood a woman, the same woman with no eyes on her face. But this time she was holding something. It was Emily's locket. The woman slowly began to move forward, and with each step, the ground seemed to tremble. Sarah tried to step back, but her feet felt as if they were sinking into the earth. The woman came closer and closer until her empty face was right in front of her. Sarah screamed with all her strength. Suddenly, darkness consumed everything. When the light returned, Sarah was gone. On the ground lay only her diary. The last page was soaked in blood, and written on it were the words, "Emily is near me, but she is no longer the one she used to be." After Sarah's disappearance, fear spread even deeper in the town. Now, people didn't just avoid going out at night. They didn't even dare to open their windows. One question haunted everyone. What happened to Emily and Sarah? The police had stopped their investigation, because every lead ended like a dead end. But there was one person who refused to sit quietly: Emily's older brother, Daniel. Daniel was a brave but stubborn young man. He decided he would find his sister no matter what. Inside him was no fear, only anger. He pulled out his grandfather's old diary, in which the hidden secrets of the town were written. According to the diary, decades ago near this very town, a woman had been burned alive for practicing witchcraft. Her name was Margaret. Before she died, she cursed them all. "Whoever passes this street after my death will be bound to my soul." Daniel's blood boiled. He realized Emily and Sarah had fallen victim to this very curse. He grabbed an old cross, some holy water, and a flashlight, and at midnight, he headed toward that cursed street. The street was silent. The old lampposts flickered again. Suddenly, the air grew still, and a cold mist filled the lane. Daniel shouted loudly, "Emily!" "Sarah, if you can hear me, answer me." At first, there was silence. Then a faint laugh echoed. It was Emily's laugh, but twisted, carrying a strange terror. Daniel turned on his flashlight and saw movement within the circle of light. Emily was standing there, but her eyes glowed red, and a terrifying smile stretched across her face. Tears welled in Daniel's eyes. He cried, "Emily, it's me, your brother." Emily's voice was cold as ice. "You shouldn't have come here." Suddenly, Sarah appeared behind her, but she too had changed. Both girls looked as if they were under the control of some dark force. At that very moment, from the end of the street, Margaret appeared. Her face still had no eyes, but her presence made the air unbearably heavy. In a furious tone, she declared, "They are mine now. No one can take them from me." Daniel raised the cross high into the air and shouted, "I will send you back into the prison of your own evil." A deafening scream shook the street. The wind roared like a storm. Emily and Sarah began to thresh violently, as if their bodies were fighting against a power inside them. Daniel sprinkled the holy water and cried out prayers with all his strength. Margaret's form began to twist, her screams echoing off the walls of the street. Then, with a thunderous blast, everything went dark. When Daniel opened his eyes, he was lying on the ground. Near him, Emily and Sarah were unconscious. Margaret was gone. Moments later, the girls woke up. Their eyes had returned to normal. Crying, they threw themselves into Daniel's arms. The curse had been broken. The next day, the people of the town were stunned when Emily and Sarah returned alive. But that street still lay deserted, with the old lampposts flickering. And they say that sometimes, even now, At midnight, a woman's whisper can still be heard. I will return.